In this video, we're gonna take a closer look at how Miguel created the Spider Society in the Spider-Verse movies and how everything got started from the very beginning. Miguel comes from a futuristic world full of advanced technology. He spent a lot of time keeping track of what was happening across the multiverse. That means all the different universes and dimensions, and he watched for any strange activity with the help of his AI companion, Lila. When the big chaos happened because of Kingpin's super collider, Miguel wasn't around. He was away for some reason, so when he finally came back, he saw just how big the mess was and realized how serious the situation had become.
You're a bit late.
We can't all be everywhere at once.
Little text might have been nice.
I was gone for less than 2 hours. What happened?
Okay, I know what it looks like. But here's the good news.
Oh, here we go.
The multiverse didn't collapse.
Oh, cool.
A little touch and go, but it worked out.
Great story.
That's when Miguel decided to try out a new device for the very first time, a multiverse travel watch. Since it was his first time using it, he didn't quite know how to operate it properly. This led to some awkward moments, especially when his first trip took him to Earth 67. There, he met a Spider-Man who wasn't sure about Miguel's idea of teaming up and going with him.
I'm Spider-Man. I need you to come with me.
Who the heck are you?
I just told you that. Listen. I'm from the future.
How dare you point at me?
You were pointing first.
Rude to point.
You're being very rude. You're not even believing me. You're pointing at me right now as you say that.
You're
Look
pointing.
at you.
I'm
Look
just
at your
pointing at
finger.
your pointing,
Look at your
which
finger
is
right
different
now.
than
What is it
normal
doing?
pointing.
You are pointing.
You
at
haven't
me.
seen
You're
pointing
accusing
until I
me
can
of
prove
pointing.
you.
From that moment, Miguel understood that this device was incredibly useful for traveling between different universes. But that was just the start of a much bigger problem. The damage caused by Kingpin's super collider was far worse than Miguel had thought. It not only pulled many spider people from different universes into one place, but it also scattered a bunch of villains across the multiverse, sending them into the wrong universes where they didn't belong. This meant Miguel suddenly had a huge responsibility. He had to return all these villains to their proper universes. Using his multiverse travel watch, he began traveling from universe to universe, searching for spider people who would be willing to help him fix this huge mess. This was how the Spider Society got started. Miguel began recruiting different spider heroes to join his team and work together to set things right. One of his closest allies, and his right hand in this mission, was Jessica Drew, also known as Spider-Woman. Over time, Miguel really stepped up as a leader, seeing himself as not just protecting one universe, but the entire multiverse. He came across a different universe where he saw another version of himself living a very happy, peaceful life with a wife and daughter. It was everything he had ever wanted, a simple, loving family and a calm life. But then he found out something heartbreaking: that version of himself had been killed. That meant his wife and daughter were left without a husband and a father. Seeing this pain, Miguel decided to step in and take the place of his alternate self. He wanted to live the life he always dreamed of, raising his daughter, being with his wife, and living peacefully. For the first time, he allowed himself to just enjoy life with his family and forget about his responsibilities as Spider-Man and as the leader of the Spider Society. He wasn't thinking about the multiverse or the dangers anymore. He was just living in the moment, savoring what he had. Unfortunately, this peaceful time didn't last very long. Somehow, the multiverse around him started to fall apart and unravel. He watched in horror as people from that universe began to disappear and even die. Most devastating of all was when his daughter, who was right there in his arms, disappeared right before his eyes. That moment crushed him. He felt overwhelmed with grief and guilt, blaming himself for everything that was happening. This experience changed Miguel deeply. He became much darker and more serious than he had ever been before. The loss made him believe that the only way to prevent something like this from happening again was to have total control over the multiverse. In his quest to understand the multiverse better, Miguel eventually discovered something called the web of life and destiny. This is the idea that certain events and challenges are meant to happen in every Spider-Man's life, the hardships, heartbreak, and key moments that define their stories. These are the things that every Spider-Man is supposed to go through, what we know as the canon events. The main job of the Spider Society was to track down all the villains scattered across the multiverse and return them to their own proper universes. But over time, their mission grew into something much bigger and more complicated. Miguel realized that it wasn't just about cleaning up the mess caused by Kingpin's super collider anymore. He also felt responsible for making sure that every Spider-Man experienced their canon event, the important moments in their lives that are supposed to happen. Everyone in the Spider Society started monitoring all the Spider people across the multiverse very closely. They watched to see if everything that was meant to happen was actually happening in each universe. Miguel truly believed that if any critical event in a Spider-Man's life was changed or prevented, it could cause that entire universe to fall apart or even be destroyed. In his eyes, those canon events were essential for maintaining balance. This mission wasn't easy or pleasant at all. Sometimes, the Spider Society members had to watch innocent people die or see Spider people suffer through difficult situations, all without interfering, even when they had the power to help or change things. They had to let those events play out exactly as they were supposed to, because trying to stop them could lead to even worse consequences. It was a heavy burden to carry, especially when you know you could do something but choose not to. Miguel eventually discovered that Miles wasn't supposed to become Spider-Man at all. According to the canon, the spider who bit him wasn't originally from his universe. This spider came from Earth 42 but was brought into Miles' universe and bit him instead. The Miles who was actually meant to be bitten and become Spider-Man was the one from Earth 42. Because of this, Miguel saw Miles as an anomaly, something out of place that didn't fit the natural order. He thought Miles couldn't be trusted to safely travel between dimensions since that could cause even more chaos in the multiverse. Miguel also knew there was an important canon event involving Miles' father, that he was supposed to die. He believed that if this didn't happen, or if someone tried to stop it, it could completely destroy Miles' universe. Understanding how fragile things were, Miguel promised Peter B that he wouldn't tell Miles anything about it, but as we know, he didn't keep that promise. Miguel went so far as to forbid anyone from visiting Miles, including Peter B, Gwen, Penny, and the others. He truly thought Miles was dangerous and that keeping him isolated was the only way to protect the multiverse from potential disaster. The truth is, Miguel never really trusted Gwen from the moment she joined the Spider Society. He was well aware of how close she was to Miles, and deep down, he suspected that at some point, she might not fully follow the team's orders. And that's exactly what happened. Miguel always saw her as a liability because of her strong connection to Miles.
I told you she was a liability.
The movie separated two groups with very different ideas. On one side, you have Miles, who believes that the whole idea of canon events, the idea that certain things have to happen no matter what, is nonsense.
So we're just supposed to let people die because some algorithm says that that's supposed to happen? You realize how messed up that sounds, right?
Miles thinks it's not what Spider-Man is about, to just stand by and let innocent people die. On the other side, there's Miguel, who truly believes that the canon events must be followed and that breaking these rules could have terrible consequences.
You have a choice between saving one person and saving an entire world, every world.
Both sides make valid points, but only one is actually right. And honestly, I believe that Miles has the better perspective here. He shows us that everyone should have the freedom to write their own story, to make their own choices, instead of being trapped by fate or some predetermined path. That's really what the Spider-Verse movies are all about, the idea that our actions define us, not just destiny or rules. Miguel, on the other hand, is a deeply broken man. He's lost everything important to him and carries a lot of trauma from his past. The problem is, instead of dealing with his pain in a healthy way, he ends up projecting it onto others. He's definitely not a villain in the traditional sense, the movie doesn't paint him as evil. But his role fits more as an antagonist, someone whose goals clash with the hero, but with understandable reasons behind them. Some people understand Miguel's side and sympathize with him, while others, like me, side with Miles and his way of thinking. In the end, only Beyond the Spider-Verse will reveal the full truth about whether the canon really has to be followed or if it can be broken. Across the Spider-Verse showed a few moments, like Gwen's father quitting being captain and not dying, with no consequences to her universe. These moments suggest the rules might be more flexible than Miguel believes. But we'll have to wait for the next movie to get the full story and see how all this plays out in more detail.